We've run away.
We're going to get started in 3 minutes.
Hello.
Hi.
There we are. Okay.
You see. Oh, hold on. I think I'm muted. Hello.
I'm muting you guys as you come in, so if you came in unmuted, I'm taking care of it. So just give me a second to make sure everyone's unmuted.
Power.
I'm unmuted.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
I think my volume's on. Turn it off.
We're going to get started in like 1 minute, guys. I just want to make sure we give everyone a chance to log on.
No, I cannot let this go. Ashley.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. It's so nice to virtually see you all. I'm Megan Ray Chowdhury, and I'm the head of school at Homer Plessy Community School. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys and see you to talk about the kickoff to the 2020-2021 school year. Thank you to everybody who submitted their questions via our survey so that we can make sure that we get you all of the answers that you're looking for. Tonight we're going to focus on what does distance learning look like at Plessy, because we're about to kick that off on Monday the 17th. Some of the questions we received were more about what does in-person learning look like if and when we return to school in person. We're going to hold on to those questions, and if school does reopen in person, we'll hold another one of these to address those at that time. But I'm really excited to introduce everybody to Rachel Bernstein. She is our middle school principal, and Rachel's going to take it away tonight to tell you guys about middle school distance learning at Plessy.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking time to join tonight. I can't wait to meet all of you, albeit virtual, more one-on-one as we get through the year. So I wanted to start, as Megan said, just by framing our virtual learning. So I'm actually going to attempt, let's see if this works, to share my screen so that we can just see, let me go here, so we can all kind of have some visuals to help us with our understanding. All right. Can y'all give me a thumbs up if you can see that? Yes. We good? All right. Appreciate y'all. All right. I really just want to ground in that we are going to be using our Plessy distance learning site as a one-stop shop hub for all of our learning while we remain virtual. And so what that would look like is on our website, plessyschool.org, there's going to be a link and it's going to say our distance learning platform. From there, you'll be able to find your Google Sites, your students' Google Classrooms, and everything that they'll need for learning will be embedded there. In the Google site, it will be by grade level, so you can get your weekly newsletter. Our teachers are going to be uploading like welcome videos, introduction videos, so your students can go ahead and watch that and start to get to know their teachers before day one. And then each cohort or homeroom is going to have their own Google Classroom. For those of you that are returning Plessy families, this is a little bit different. Rather than every teacher having their own classroom and you as a parent and or guardian trying to help navigate that from multiple children can get a lot. So if your student is in, let's say, 5th grade cohort B, there's one classroom and it'll have all their teachers there for them to access. So it'll be a much easier, streamlined process for all of you at home. They'll be able to log into all of this using their student emails, and it's going to be their first name dot last name at plessyschool.org, and the password has been set as Plessy123. When you come this week for materials pickup, you're going to get a welcome letter that's also going to have all of this on it. And I'm really excited to announce that the platform is going to go live on Friday. So even though school starts 1 week from today on Monday, on Friday, you and your students will be able to go in and kind of play around a little bit. We're also going to be offering in each of the Google Classrooms a little bit of Meet Your Teacher office hours from 12 to 1 o'clock on Friday. So I was hoping to try to line that up with folks' lunch break. Apologies if that isn't perfect. But basically your student's homeroom teacher will be in the Google Classroom on the Google Hangout. So that way if you're troubleshooting, is my smartphone going to work for accessing lessons? Is this going to happen? You can go in and kind of work out some of those kinks with the teacher or just pop in to say hello so that we can have a smoother day one. The next thing I wanted to talk about was schedules. From the questions that we received, the majority of them were about how this schedule works. And so I just wanted to talk through this. It's a lot of new. This is uncharted territory for a lot of us. So I promise if it doesn't make sense the first time, just keep asking questions and it will, hopefully, eventually. So this is a sample 7th grade schedule that we're looking at. And as you can see, every student will have an advisory block from 8:15 to 8:30. This is more of like a check-in with your homeroom teacher. How are things going? They're gonna have some simple sharing activities, different little fun things, just so that you can also connect with your teacher outside of just academics. And that's something that we'll also be carrying over in-person school. That will be an extended block, so we can really do more traditional middle school homeroom time in preparation for what kids will experience in high school. We'll also, during advisory, be doing some academic reflection so that we're teaching kids to start owning their own grades and progress and being able to advocate for themselves if they need more help. So their homeroom teacher will kind of be their coach. So they may be in there like, oh, I'm really struggling in math. Okay, let me help you write an email to the math teacher to ask for some extra help. And so we're going to be trying to help build that so that they can become more in control of their own learning as they get older. So we are going to be running on A day and B days. The reason for this is learning online is a lot. Being in front of a computer is a lot. As someone who's been on the computer like all day running sessions with adults, it's tiring. So I can only imagine for a child. And so in order to still get all the content throughout the week, but not overwhelming a student for one day, we've kind of split into 2 days. The first day of school will run as an A day, and then we will alternate from there. So that if Friday was an A day, the next Monday will be a B day, and it'll just go there. So whatever yesterday was, it's the next thing on the next day. We will also be posting on the Google site your weekly calendar, just so that you remember if it's starting on an A day or a B day, so your student can know how to navigate that. We also have math and ELA intervention blocks built into the calendar. You can see here that would be the first period for this 7th grade student. The first couple weeks of school, we are actually not going to be holding class during this time. Ideally, this is the time where students who are needing extra help, whether it's they need extra help because they're having a little bit of a struggle with the content or they need an extension activity, this is where they'll be in small groups rather than the whole class, getting that individualized attention. In order for us to provide that, we really need to be collecting data on where students are and what they need. So the first couple weeks of school, your student is not going to have to report for that block. Instead, teachers may be reaching out to do some one-on-one diagnostic testing, talking with teachers, running some data to figure out exactly what it is kids need. And when we're ready to roll that out, we'll make sure that everyone's communicated with on what that will look like. There's also study hall built in. Study hall is really where what we talk about in advisory about building responsibility is going to come into play. Students are going to have assignments and they get to kind of self-regulate when and how they're going to work on them. This is also the time if they need to reach out to any of our student support staff. So if they need to set up some time to speak with a social worker, they have time built in the day to do that. If they need to reach out and send a couple emails to teachers for extra help, if they need to send an email to me because they have a question or a suggestion on something, these are the times when they can do that. If they want to go give themselves a recess and go play outside, well, go give yourself a recess. Study hall is your time, and it's going to help them start to learn how to schedule getting their work done in time. And then we will be recording classes and posting them to the Google site. So there were a lot of questions around what if we can't make it to the in-person time? And so what we want to do is be flexible because we understand that as families, we have different work schedules. We may be sharing technology. I may need the Wi-Fi until 3 o'clock and then my student can kind of take up the bandwidth. So if they can't attend a live class, that's okay. But students will be responsible for submitting their work by the deadline. So if an assignment is due on Tuesday, they'll have until midnight at Tuesday to submit it on their Google Classrooms. So if they don't attend in person, it's not going to count against them, but you can probably expect one of our staff members just to follow up with a phone call to make sure everything's okay and if there's any support that we can do. We do encourage attending live, but we realize that's not a reality for every family member, and so we're not going to hold that against anybody. Technology. So a lot of the next second biggest thing I got questions about, the first was the schedule and the second was technology. We currently have a limited amount of technology to distribute to families, but we do have more that we are waiting for it to come in. So these were ordered a while ago, but just with different limitations on shipping and internal flights, international flights. Sorry guys, it's been a long day. So international flights have basically cut the number of technology coming into the US significantly. So we do have a limited number that we are going to be distributing to families of highest need. So when you come this week for materials pickup, if you need technology, that's something that you can flag for our staff member. And then we can go ahead, and if we are able to distribute it to you in that moment, we will. If not, we will place you on a wait list to ensure that you have it as soon as they come in. If you are able to provide technology for your child, and I realize not everybody is, we do recommend go ahead and do that just so that we can make sure the families with the highest need aren't denied access to learning for right now. And we'll come back at the end to clarify any other questions. At Plessy, we do standards-based grading, which we feel is really aligned with our mission of arts integrated and project-based learning, because we're really able to look at mastery of each standard within the entire topic. And so what we decided to do in middle school is calculate our averages just slightly different than elementary school, because we realize that the assessments are starting to get more rigorous, and we really want to make sure that we're getting deeper and preparing kids for the rigor of high school. So if you look at this, you can see that student 1 kind of started off getting a 1 and then worked their way up to a 4. And so just for those of you that are new to standards-based grading, a 4 is above grade level, a 3 is at grade level, 2 is approaching grade level, and a 1 is below grade level. So student 1 was struggling at first, but as you can see here, they're really making a lot of progress. And on that particular standard, they're clearly working their way up to mastery. Then check out student 4, who started off really strong, but it seems as the work is getting more complex, they're actually having some issues, right? In a typical way of grading, student 1 and student 4 would have the same grade if we just did a raw average. But I think we can all agree here that student 1 is really progressing the way we would like them to see, and student 4 may actually need to be flagged for having some extra help to make sure that they are reaching the mastery of that standard. And so the way that we're going to be grading in the middle school basically has an algorithm that is going to predict growth. So if you can see here, student 1 would actually be predicting that the next time they get an assessment on this standard, they would be performing at a 4 because they've been showing progress. And you can see that student 4 would actually be predicting a lower score. And we feel that this is actually more accurate for our teachers to be able to go in and give your student exactly what they need so that we can all be performing at a 3 or above. And that's really where we want to go. This is like getting really like into the nitty gritty. Good, I see Lindsay likes this. I like it too, but it can be a little bit overwhelming at first. So once grading periods come around, if you have more questions, I am more than happy to answer them. Just reach out, it's not a problem. And I want you all to know that we're gonna be explaining this and doing lessons around this with your students, because we really want them to know every week where they're going ahead and making sure that they are, again, tracking their own learning, because we don't want it to be a surprise for them at the end of the quarter. We want them to be able to say, oh, wow, if I really want to make that grade, I'm going to need to do this kind of work, and really starting to instill those habits of learning. So special education, gifted and talented. I'm going to let Mr. Adam, who is on the call, he is our Director of Student Services, pop in for a minute. But I do want to assure you that we hear you and we will make sure your kids are taken care of. So I'll let Adam hop in real quick.
Bear with me, guys. I have a very hungry baby here. So I've got to just know that I'm talking to you and you may hear a little baby sound. By the way, hi, thank you guys for being here. We cannot wait to have kids back, and we're excited to get started, even though it's virtually. So for all students who receive services through an IEP, receive service minutes, will still be receiving their IEP services virtually. Special education students that receive academic minutes, behavioral minutes, and service minutes from our staff. We have been reaching out to families and parents and talking about what that will look like virtually. There are times throughout the day and throughout the schedule that Ms. Rachel showed earlier. There's lots of times of the day to fulfill the needs of all of our students, intervention-wise. And the same thing goes for students who receive gifted services and or talented services as well. There will be talented services. There will be talented visual arts, theater, music. There will be gifted academics as well, which will be pull out small group virtual and then also integrated into the classroom. Resubmit new IEPs. Do we need to resubmit new IEPs for the year? So if your student receives IEP services, we know all of our students currently, but we will have an IEP meeting and review meeting to talk about what those services will look like. Ms. Smith, if you could please email me at adam.compania@pleasantyschool.org, we can set up a meeting for that. And so if anybody has any questions concerning IEPs, gifted services, talented services, anything involving 504 plans, if you're new to Plessy and your child received accommodations, we need to know about that, and please let us know so we can so your child can receive those services virtually and when we get back to school in person.
Great, thanks so much, Adam. And I do see more questions coming through in the chat, and I will get to those at the end. I'm going to circle back to some of those questions. There were a lot of questions submitted on the survey as well about our arts integration and project-based learning. And so for those of you that are new to Plessy, this is a really core component of how we approach learning. And so I want to assure you that our staff, both our core content teachers as well as our specials teachers, have been collaborating to ensure that AI PBL, which is what we call it for short, can still continue even in a virtual space. When you come for materials pickup this week, your student will also be receiving an art kit and will have various materials inside of it. Miss Brooke, who will be over our AI PBL this year, will be sending out an email kind of explaining the contents of the kit and different ways it can be used. And then your teachers right now, they're hard at work making sure that they're collaborating, that they will be making sure that our students have AI PBL experiences even from home. So if you have more questions about that, you're more than welcome to reach out to Ms. Brooke. And for those of you who are new to Plessy and those of you returning this year, our specials that we offer will be music and band, which will kind of be one. And once we're back and running and COVID free, we are definitely putting a lot of energy into getting ourselves a really solid marching band. So stay tuned for that. We have visual art, we have dance, we have theater, and of course we have our strings program. If your student was in strings previously, Miss Kate will be reaching out to confirm if your student wants to remain in strings. And then if they do, when you come for materials pickup, we'll make sure that instruments and so on and so forth are set up. I got a question, will we have chorus? This year we will not offer chorus as a specific special. And moving forward, once COVID is done, we can talk about different ways that that can become a thing. But right now, that's not what we're gonna focus on. Can art count as building virtually inside games or software? Yeah, so that's a really cool idea, Felix, and definitely maybe you want to shoot me a one-off email and we can kind of chat more about what that could possibly look like, but we definitely do consider digital media as part of the arts. I also just want you to know, this is a small sampling, but Plessy Middle School this year, I was able to bring in a lot of new staff because we have really doubled in size. So we've doubled our staff. And so on here, you can see a mix of some familiar faces and also some new faces. I have worked at a lot of schools, and I've worked in partnership with dozens of schools all across the state of Louisiana. And I just want you to know that I am so incredibly proud of the staff that we have coming in to work with our middle schoolers this year. These are some incredibly talented, passionate educators, and I cannot wait for you to meet them. And I just know your kids are gonna love them because they're quite lovable people. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm gonna come back in here. So there were some questions that I will ask. What I'm gonna ask for questions, if you could indicate your question in the chat. If it is something that is more of a one-off specific to just your child, I would ask if you just shoot me an email so that I can also give it the attention it deserves without sharing too many personal details to everybody. But if you want to indicate in the chat that you have a question, and then I'll go ahead and either unmute you or you can unmute yourself or just go ahead and type your question. So some that I saw previously were how many days a week will they have class? So middle school will have class every day. But as you can see, especially if you look at the schedule, when we take out that intervention block for the first few weeks, it's not all day every day. And it will be a mix of what we call synchronous learning, which is like what we're doing right now. We're all here at the same time. We're in sync, right? I'm teaching, you're learning, we're in class. There's also going to be opportunities for what we call asynchronous learning, which is where I, as a teacher, may say for the first half of class, I need you to read this chapter and we're going to buddy up tomorrow and we're going to circle up and have a discussion. And so that's where some of the learning can be independent and balanced. But before we roll any of that out, the teachers are going to have lessons to teach your children how to access all the things they're going to need, because we realize this is a lot and it's going to be a steep learning curve. So the whole first week is going to be a lot of how is this working? And then we'll like really dive deep into content. I also saw, I think it was Lindsay had asked how often families are going to be updated on grades. The first week of school, the grading system will probably not be fully uploaded. However, after that, I am asking staff members to update grades weekly. There will be a link on your Google site, your child's Google Classroom, to the parent portal where that's where they'll also be looking at their grades. So you can be checking weekly and having those reflection conversations with your kids. But I do also ask that if you see a dip one week, That may just be one assignment that was really hard, and I don't want anyone getting grounded because of one assignment. So if you're ever not sure and you see a dip, before you go, yeah, look, I see y'all laughing. You already know what you were gonna do. Before y'all go do that to your babies, I'm gonna need you to talk to the teacher, because they may say, no, they're doing good. I got another assignment tomorrow. They're gonna come right back up to a 3, because the way standards-based grading works. So we're gonna be updating them a lot, but I just can't, don't get too hot and cold, or your kids are gonna start to be like, come on, I'm trying. But we are gonna definitely accommodate that for y'all. All right, any other questions? If you are new, can you do strings if you did it at another school? Angela, go ahead and send me an email about that, and I will connect you with our specials director to get you a more specific answer. Aaron Jackson asked, if I have 2 kids that attend Plessy, can I pick up their learning materials together? Yes, indeed, Mr. Jackson, you can. We do not need you making 2 trips. What I would ask is if you can default to the older students' pickup time. That way we can ensure that we have all the materials ready. So like, for example, 8th grade is on Friday. I have not made the 8th grade kits yet. But if you reach out to me because you really can't make it Friday and you need to come tomorrow, I'll make sure to have your students' kit together. So if you have an extenuating circumstance and you need an edit, go ahead. I see some kids on the call that I saw today, so I know they already came and got their things. Are there plans for clubs? So the clubs is challenging this year, and clubs is one of the things I love the most about middle school. If we are to return in person, clubs by nature is where kids from different homerooms get to mix with each other. COVID safety regulations are not going to allow us to do that. So I did not incorporate clubs into the schedule. However, when we come back in person, what I am having teachers do is let kids kind of vote within their cohort on like a topic or a club that they would like to do for a couple weeks. And the teacher within their class is going to run like a mini club thing going on, but it's not going to be the extensive program that we would normally have. And that's just due to COVID. But once all of that is over, clubs will be back because it's one of my favorite parts about middle school. So for those of you kiddos on the call that are sad about not having club, we're going to find other really fun things to do for you, I promise. Any other questions? Virtual clubs is a really good idea, Emma W. from 7th grade. I actually went back and forth about that a lot. There may be a world in which we get that started after the first couple weeks. Let us make sure we get class going smooth, and then let's revisit that. If we come back to school in a few weeks, it would go away anyway. So let's see what the next review from the district is. And if we're virtual for a long time, I think we might be able to get you on student council to make some things happen. Will there still be guitar? This year, instruments are a no-go in school. We have a way to do strings. Guitar, I will have to do some follow-up. I believe that was part of the elementary curriculum. So I don't believe we are planning on having guitar at middle school, but again, feel free to send me a follow-up and I'll connect you with Brooke to get a more specific answer. I don't want to commit to a yes or a no there. Felix, you got a lot of games coming your way already planned, so don't you worry, my friend. I would also like to say that this parent orientation is very middle school because the kids are running this chat, and that is exactly how middle schoolers roll. Let's see. Math class, will that class be held the entire class time every day? So Latrell, that's a great question. That is where we are going to be mixing it up, and your teacher is going to be making sure that your kids understand, like, some of it is going to be that synchronous learning of like, yes, we're here for the whole block. Some days it's going to be more like you're independently working on this and then checking in small groups. I also made the block a bit longer than what I anticipate teachers actually teaching for, so that the majority of kids can hop off the call, and kids who have questions or need a little bit of extra help will have that last 15 minutes with their teacher to ask. So if you've completed your work, you got it, your teacher's gonna be like, cool, go ahead and hop off. If you have questions, stay on with me. And that's something I built into the schedule. I believe there's like 75-minute blocks or so, but I really am only anticipating about 50 to 60 minutes of any direct instruction. because more than that, it's really hard to focus on a computer. Yes, Ms. Duncan, this recording will be posted to our website. We will also be sharing it on our social media pages. So anyone who missed it or joined late, you can go back and rewatch. Look at me repeating, and my team has already replied. How often are tests exams? So we are going to be doing some diagnostic assessments, which basically, since we didn't have LEAP last year, we just want to make sure that we know where every student is so nobody falls through the cracks. And then we will have our quarterly interim assessments as usual. And we do have the ability to give those virtually and or if we're back in person. And so regular tests and exams, we do not have a mandate of like a weekly test system, but different teachers will communicate to your students if they have a test coming up, if they have a quiz, so on and so forth within their Google Classrooms, and we'll be updating those grades regularly. There is no dress code requirement for virtual learning. You know, just keep it true to you, keep it appropriate to be on a camera with the rest of your class. But no uniforms or anything like that. In terms of leak testing, Nick B asked if the scenario that the entire school is to be held online and COVID doesn't get better, what will the leak test look like? That we're gonna have to wait for more word from our governor. It is up to him if he is going to waive state testing. At this point this year, he has not waived it. So we are teaching as though there will be a test. But honestly, even if there is no LEAP, we will still be teaching as though there is a test, because we don't teach to the test. We teach to make sure that your child is prepared to go on to the next level. And we will make sure that we keep y'all updated whenever we get updates about what's going on. We'll make sure you're also in the know there. Will the students have an opportunity to learn virtually the entire year? Basically, will parents have a choice? Yes. So if we do come back in person, we are very committed to offering a choice for in-person or distance learning. So if you choose to keep your student home, that is fine. And if you choose to send them back when we're allowed to do that, also fine. We will be prepared to kind of do that hybrid model. Latrell, great question. She asked, will we get updates if students are not completing assignments, and how do we as parents keep track? You will have a link to be able to go into their grading portal. Our grading system is called Jump Rope, and they are updating it. The reason why the first week it won't be up, they're actually updating it to a 2.0, which has a really great parent portal that you will be able to go in and check grades regularly. I would also just like to say that our teachers are very communicative. So if you ever have a question about how they're doing, or if they have a concern about your child, like opening up those lanes of communication is going to be really important. And they are very, very eager to get to know all of you and build those relationships, so they can kind of be like, hey mom, I'm a little worried about how he's doing in math. And y'all can then talk it out from there to figure out ways to support them. I think there was one before that I may have missed. When and if school resumes in person, is the Tremé campus the same school hours as the French Quarter campus? So the middle school and the elementary school are just running on a 10-minute difference to account for buses that need to pick up from one and go to the other. So our hours at the Tremé campus, which is pre-K and 5th through 8, is, gosh, I hope I get this right. I believe it's 8 to 3:30. And elementary is 8:10 to 3:40. Kenya's nodding. Woo, good. I needed that confirmation. I got a lot going on in my brain. So there's just a 10-minute stagger, so that if you're dropping off to 2 different campuses and or buses are loading at 2 different campuses. So it's basically the same day, just that 10-minute buffer to make sure that y'all aren't stressed out if you have kids at both. Will the grading portal link be sent via email? Once we have it up and running, it'll be in the Google Classrooms. I'm more than happy to send that out as well to a whole school email, not a problem. And sorry if you can hear my child crying in the back. He's been at daddy camp all day and I think he's starting to get over it, but such is working mom life. All right. I do encourage you guys to reach out. And I just want to thank you. Yeah, we are all in it right now, huh? I'm here. I am preaching to the choir of parents, right? Woo! I just want to thank you all for being here. If you get your kit and something doesn't make sense, if something is not working for you and your family and you're not sure how to go about it, please, please, please reach out. We definitely know that this is an unparalleled time right now, and we want to support you however we can. We have our social work team, our dean team, our admin team, as well as other folks on the student support team all ready to come and help how we can. So keep us in the loop of what's going on and let us know your needs so that we can go ahead and make sure that you're all taken care of the best that we can. How early can we drop off students? Let's save those for if we come back in person, because once we know we come back in person, we're going to be running our systems through like all the COVID guidelines, and I don't want to say something now that may change in a couple weeks. If we do end up offering in-person school, we will hold another round of this to make sure everyone's prepared for what that could look like. Vanessa, I saw your private chat. Yeah, go ahead and give me an email and I'll find a time to connect with you and we can chat one-on-one. All right, y'all. Look at that. 36 minutes, getting it done. That's what I'm talking about, families. Yes, yes. I appreciate all of you. I am so looking forward to getting to know all of you, and all the kiddos on the call. Get ready. Virtual or not, we're going to have a fun year. That's a requirement. And I will see you guys all soon. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your night.